Between barbed wire and shattered dreams, a secret pact was forged, one that official history tried desperately to erase. It began in the cold silence of a prisoner of war camp, where survival was measured not just in days, but in the flickers of shared humanity that flared briefly against the relentless darkness. Imagine the desperation. Men, once adversaries, confined in cages surrounded by despair, hunger gnawing at their bellies, and the ever-present fear of death lurking in every shadow. Yet amid this bleak existence, they made a terrifying choice, one that defied the brutal logic of war and questioned the very nature of loyalty and enmity. How did these men find trust in the enemy's eyes? How did they dare to cross invisible battle lines, risking both lives for an unthinkable alliance? This is the story they buried, the pact they feared the world might never understand. The year was 1943, deep into the heart of World War II, inside a sprawling camp hidden in the remote wilderness of Eastern Europe. The air was thick with the stench of mud and diesel, the earth stained by rain and blood. Guards prowled with suspicion, their boots pounding an ominous rhythm into the cold ground. Inside, prisoners from opposing armies huddled behind layers of wire and watchtowers, their voices a chorus of exhaustion and sorrow. The sky was an iron-gray ceiling that pressed down with unyielding weight, mirroring the hopelessness that gripped the men. But beneath that crushing despair, a fragile spark of resistance kindled. It began with scraps, stolen moments where a German soldier slipped a piece of bread to a Soviet comrade, the currency of survival and trust, in a place where enemies were reduced to numbers. Food, stories, and whispered hopes exchanged over invisible borders forged in silence. This act, seemingly insignificant, was a subversion of the war's cruelty. It was where fear clashed with courage, where hatred softened into a grudging solidarity. Yet this fragile peace was not born from kindness alone. A darker truth lurked beneath these exchanges, a pact that was both a lifeline and a curse. As winter's grip tightened, hunger and sickness ravaged the prisoners, and the camp became a battlefield of survival beyond combat. Desperation drove unlikely alliances. Enemies traded information, concealed weapons, and planned covert resistance. This unspoken agreement became a web of betrayal and salvation. Guards were bribed, secrets buried in coded letters, and escape plots hatched in the dead of night. Men who should have been sworn to kill now fought to protect one another, but trust in war is a fragile currency. Suspicion gnawed at their alliance as the camp's command grew wary. Rumors spread like wildfire, informers lurked in the shadows. The consequences of discovery were lethal, punishment was swift and merciless. Yet the prisoners persevered in their silent rebellion, bound by a pact that was their only hope against annihilation. Then came the turning point. A brutal winter storm trapped the camp in a frozen hell, severing supply lines and weakening defenses. Starvation loomed, and the thin veil of civility began to tear. Amidst this chaos, one prisoner discovered a secret that would unravel their covert alliance, a betrayal from within. Friend became foe overnight, and the pact was tested in a crucible of fire and blood. The desperate chose survival over loyalty, the fragile truce shattered under the weight of fear and suspicion. What followed was a merciless purge as the camp commanders cracked down, determined to root out the conspiracy that threatened their control. Men vanished in the night, silence replaced by the hollow echoes of loss. The pact they forged, this terrifying covenant of mercy and deceit, was branded a treason so monstrous that records were destroyed, testimonies erased, and the story buried beneath layers of propaganda and censorship. But the truth endures. These moments of humanity, exchanging rations, sharing stories, standing as brothers in the shadow of death, remind us of the complex interplay between war's brutality and the indomitable human spirit. They show us that even in the darkest crucibles of conflict, compassion can ignite the faintest hope, and survival can depend on the trembling hands of an enemy who dares to share a piece of bread. Their terrifying pact altered the lives of those who made it, and the legacy of their courage whispers through history's forgotten pages. What if this spark of humanity was the difference between life and oblivion for thousands? What lessons lie hidden in these silent stories, waiting to challenge our understanding of enemies and allies? The war was not only fought on fields drenched with blood, but within the hearts of those who refused to surrender their dignity and empathy, even when everything demanded they hate. As you consider this secret alliance, ask yourself, could the moments of humanity we are too afraid to admit change the course of his?